Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here and welcome back to another video for Sea of Thieves. It's been a little while since my last one, E3 in fact, but this past week there was a panel at SDCC, or San Diego Comic-Con, and during that panel the team shared some new information as well as some new images and a few short video clips. However, instead of just filling you guys in on the SDCC information, I thought I'd tie it all together and go over everything we currently know about Rare's upcoming pirate adventure. So if you do enjoy this video and you do learn something new, then don't forget to drop a like, it is always super appreciated, and comment down below and let me know if you are looking forward to this game yourself. Now as some of you guys may know, I was actually lucky enough to go hands-on with this at E3, and if you missed that video then I will link it down below. It's me and 269 chatting about our experience, but in short I am genuinely so excited about this game. It's really nice to see Rare return into form, and the game itself has so much promise, so it's something I will without a doubt be following closely. And over the coming months you'll no doubt see more videos on this channel. But that aside, let's start breaking down everything we know. To begin with, very quickly, just in case you've never heard of this game before, then Sea of Thieves is Rare's upcoming shared world adventure game, or SWAG for short, set in a pirate universe. Fundamentally, it's a multiplayer game with the core being crew cooperation. You play as your own pirate, which you can customize, although short of seeing a few different pirate variants in the E3 gameplay, we have yet to actually see that process. However, as well as that, you can own, upgrade and customize your own ship, and of course that's where the crew cooperation comes in. In order to be a successful pirate, you need a crew to help you operate your ship, be that people to patch up holes in the hull after combat, raise and lower the sails, man the cannons, give you directions from the crow's nest, or, play music, drink grog and do the typical pirate stuff. However, that being said, Rare stated in an interview with VentureBeat that they're keen to give players the ability to play this game in the way that they want to. If you want to explore the world for legendary treasures or sail to the furthest island, you can. If you want to be the most feared pirate in the seas and sink other pirate ships, you can. And most importantly, if you are a solo player still looking to enjoy the adventure, you can do that too. While Rare did clearly state that they are building a multiplayer cooperative adventure game, they similarly don't want to limit what players can do. So it's also entirely possible for someone to be a one-man pirate on a much smaller one-man ship. Admittedly, you'll likely have a much harder time, and might need to think twice before taking on a much larger ship and crew, but regardless, if you want to explore the world alone, in search of your own treasures, then you can. Or alternatively, you could assemble a crew of lone pirates, each manning their own one-man ship, and then swarm a bigger vessel for a surprise attack. The possibilities are pretty vast. However, for those of you guys that have every intention of playing this game with a full crew of salty pirate teammates, then at E3 the game was demoed with 3 to 5 man crews, but in an interview with IGN, Greg Mayles, the creative director, stated that a crew limit had yet to be determined by the team, so there's a chance that could still go up. Now, with the basic premise out the way, let's talk a bit more about the actual game itself. I mean, we know it's a cooperative pirate adventure where you play with other people, sail the seas and explore, but beyond that, what exactly do we know? And while there is still plenty the team have yet to reveal, one thing we do know is that the game will feature a pretty broad quest system. For players that want a little bit more direction and don't just want to sail the seas in hope of finding something random, then there will be quests for treasures, quests for loot, quests to take down bounties, track down shipwrecks, discover lost islands, etc. However, that being said, it is worth noting that there won't be an overarching story. This game is a sandbox, and the intention is for players to create their own narrative along the way. Greg Mayles actually said in an interview with Eurogamer that they don't want the game to be linear, where players are just progressing along a given path, but at the same time they also don't want a world where players feel like it's barren with no lore. So they are working hard to try and strike a perfect balance. And besides the quest system, there will of course be the aforementioned ship combat, but also pirate-to-pirate combat with guns and swords. This wasn't actually shown at E3 as the focus was specifically on ship combat and working as a crew, but those elements will be in the game, they were just simply disabled. Normally pirates will have a blunderbuss, a sword, etc. And while we're on the topic of ship combat, let's speak a little bit more about that. Assuming for a second that you play with a crew, then there's actually a fair amount of stuff to take into account on the ship. You have a captain at the helm, manning the wheel and steering the ship. You then have cannons that need to be manned by people during combat. You have sails that require player input to raise and lower them, and if you work as a team then you can do that faster. There's also an anchor that similarly can be raised and lowered, and by the way, I found out after my hands-on session that you can do the Pirates of the Caribbean thing where you drop the anchor to effectively do a pirate ship handbrake for like really sharp turns. The ultimate evasive maneuvers. But on top of that, you also have a crow's nest, which is actually really important because if you are steering the ship and the sails are down, you actually can't see much. So you're actually going to have to rely on your trustworthy teammates to try and see you through, or maybe see you straight into a rock depending on who you're playing with. And then when you begin engaging in combat with other pirates, your ship will take damage, assuming they can hit you, and when this happens, your shipmates or your crew will then need to go into the bowels of the ship and start patching it up, boarding up any holes, scooping out any excess water, and if you fail to do that, well, your ship will sink. The interesting question is, what exactly happens when your ship sinks? We haven't really heard anything definitive on this. Of course, during the E3 demo, you just respawn because it's a demo, but we don't know yet whether there would be any sort of penalty. Does it just respawn? Is there an associated penalty? Do we have to go back and build a new ship? You know, farm new parts or anything like that? Who knows? So for the time being, that will, of course, need to remain a mystery. The other interesting thing to note is that when talking about ship design, Greg mentioned how the ships were purposefully built to feel claustrophobic so that when you eventually do discover an island, you moor up and you get out to explore, you then really feel like you're getting that breath of fresh air and you're stretching your legs. And while sticking on the topic of ship design for a second, let's return quickly to customization. We already know that there are ships of different sizes, but the customization also goes a little further. For example, here are some images from the panel at SDCC. You can clearly see 3 distinctly different looking ships, but it's not just about paint jobs either. On the front of every ship is what's known as a figurehead, typically a rather ornate carved character, be that a person, an animal, a fearsome beast. Pirate ships in Sea of Thieves are designed to be an extension of their captain, and as such, there will be a variety of options to really and truly personalise your vessel. A couple of the images at SDCC also showed us some cool Easter eggs. This image is of a Banjo-Kazooie figurehead. You can see Kazooie on the shield, and of course Banjo behind. And then this second one is actually Joanna Dark from Perfect Dark with 2 crossed guns. And I imagine there are plenty more Easter eggs to find once the game launches. I'm definitely super excited to try and go hunting for those. Also, jumping back for a second to the pirate customization options, while we don't know exactly how extensive these will be, one thing we did get a look at are these 3 images again during the SDCC panel. These show wear and tear on character models, with the first face being a brand new pirate, the last one being a pirate who's clearly seen some battles and has a story to tell. Quite how this factors into the game, again we don't know yet, whether this is something you can control, whether these are simply options during the creation process, or whether it's something that happens throughout the game, again we'll just have to wait and see. We also got a look at a couple more images showing some general wear and tear on environment and objects and ships. These help to illustrate whether something has been repaired or worn over time. Again, likely an indication of a new pirate ship versus one that's seen some battles. So, with that out of the way, what else is there to talk about? We've covered customization, pirates, ships, multiplayer combat, exploration, and quests, but what else? Well, one of the glaring omissions from the E3 build, and this was obviously intentional, were towns, ports, and hubs. It's unclear just yet whether there will be social spaces outside of ships on some of the larger islands, or whether the intention is for the ships to be those hubs. Personally, I would love to see some sort of pirate town where people could perhaps go to party up, play pirate games, listen to music, drink grog, and maybe get into a few bar brawls. But I guess that's something they will reveal at a later date. Another thing we learned during the SDCC panel, paired with a Red Bull interview from E3, is the existence of ghosts and ghost ships. Sea of Thieves seems to have a rather interesting way of handling player death. I mentioned earlier that we don't really know what happens to your ship when it sinks, but as an individual player, if you die, you actually get sent to a ghost ship. See this as like a waiting room before respawning. And what's more, while you are on this ghost ship, your crew will of course still be out there in the real world, so you can effectively look back into the realm of the living and kind of see what they're up to, or see if they are trying to steal your treasure whilst you're away. Also, whilst on the ghost ship, the way in which you died is displayed, so that when you meet other dead pirates, you can then have some fun in knowing how exactly they ended up there. Did they perhaps drink too much grog, get drunk and fall off the side and get eaten by a shark or a kraken? And yes, by the way, krakens do exist in the game. Absolutely nothing else is known surrounding that, but it was a passing note at the end of an E3 interview. Krakens are a thing, and perhaps other legendary creatures too. But returning to the ghost ship for a second, there weren't really any other details shared just yet, so it's still a bit of a mystery. Whether living players will have the opportunity to battle this ghost vessel will remain to be seen, and whether there is any way to lessen your stay on the boat is again unknown. Whether you have to do like chores to shorten your stay, or whether it is just like a predetermined timer before you can then re-enter the world. But regardless, death actually sounds like it could be pretty funny in this game. Now beyond all that, a few technical things. The game features a full day and night cycle, and with different times of day comes different weather and sea conditions. The game doesn't support split screen multiplayer, but as we all know, cooperative play is at the heart of the game. It'll be released on Xbox One and Windows 10, and as we know from E3, it will also be a cross-buy title, meaning that you will be able to buy it on one platform and pick up and play on the other, which is super cool, as that means I can jump between playing with friends on Xbox One and PC. Do bear in mind, however, that does not imply that PC players can play with console players. It just means you have the ability to play on both platforms independently. The game also has a tentative release window of February 2017, however there is a beta planned for later this year. Still no exact time frame on that just yet, but I will be sure to keep you guys posted on that as and when we hear more. But beyond that, I don't really think there's a great deal more I can say at the moment, short of how excited I am to play this game. That's pretty much all the information that we currently have and everything that I've scraped from various interviews. Of course, as and when more information gets released, expect more videos, but in the meantime, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What aspects of the game most appeal to you? What are you most excited about? And thank you very much for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.